Hi, this is Zach,
And this is Patrick,
and welcome to Pipecast.
where we pipe up for pipes and pipe down for what? Well, the cold returned.
It always comes back. How are you going to go from 75 to 30? That's like a 45-degree drop and not expect to catch the flu.
That's life in Alabama.
The weather here is so forgetful. Can't even remember from day to day. But outside of the weather, how's your week been?
Making it just work.
That's good.
Work stuff. How about you?
It's been actually pretty terrible.
Yeah.
This was a long one. I did not enjoy anything that was going on this week, but I survived it. So that's all you can do sometimes. Just bear down.
Survived for the next bowl.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think I was going to be able to smoke this Friday. I'd caught some sort of bug on Monday, and then it sort of just ran through the week. I just barely am making it today, but you cough in a handkerchief and you try to keep everyone safe from germs, and then hopefully you're rewarded with a bowl full of tobacco during the podcast.
Yeah.
So what are you smoking?
This is something you gave me. LJ Peretti. Number 8 slices.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's... What'd you say earlier? It had a toasted marshmallow kind of smell?
When you lit it up, it smells like toasted marshmallows to me.
It's nice. Did you like it?
I loved it. Shout out to Eldridge Pipes for turning me on to it. I don't know if he's listening, but he gives stellar reviews, and if he says it's good, it seems to me that my taste buds completely align with his. So, buddy, keep on keeping on, because I'm gonna keep listening to you, and you can just keep directing me to the fine tobaccos of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you smoking it in?
This is old Boswell, little nose warmer I got maybe a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And little old fella. You got a little bit smaller bowl, so I may have to do maybe a bowl and a half tonight.
There you go. Sometimes you just got to add on. Sometimes it ends up being kind of weak like that.
Yeah.
I spent many a nights thinking I was going to smoke a bowl and ended up smoking 5.
Oh, God. Again, that's an addiction.
That is an addiction. But it's an addiction I'm proud of, so I don't really care.
So, what do you got? What you smoking?
All right. So I got something you loaned out to me. I'm smoking Dunbar by Esoterica in a Sir Jacobo Picto pipe, which is based off... I think it's based off let's see here, it's written here. So they had this series that they came out with, and they based a lot of their pipes on paintings, famous paintings. And this one, I think, is based on a Picta Miro number 1. It's a hawkbill, really pretty pipe. It's one of my favorite looking pipes that I own. I always swore that I would go back. I've got 2 Pictas, but I really wanted the oh my goodness, this is actually going to kill me on the inside if I can't remember this. There's a famous painting, and I'm not 100% sure if it's the painting's called The Pipe. It might actually be the slogan painted on it. It's Necessis pas un pipe, which is This Is Not a Pipe, and it's a painting of a pipe by Magritte, who is a surrealist painter. Actually saw the pipe, I believe, in Chicago, but it might have been New York. But it's just kind of a, it's a painting. It's not a pipe, and I don't want to go into like what the the meaning of the painting is, but it's a very distinct pipe. And Sir Jacobo, who I guess are connoisseurs of fine art, crafted pipes to mimic those paintings, and I've got I got this one and another one that's based off a Van Gogh painting,
Mm.
and I think you've seen it. It's that little craggly with the kind of the stiletto hilt.
Oh yeah.
So, but I would like to get a hold of that one by Magritte one day, one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this Dunbar is pretty good. So I guess it's kind of a vapory kind of day, a vapory kind of night, which is always my go-to stand-in pipe tobacco. Um, when I
Yeah.
don't really know what I want to smoke. Sometimes I think Englishes can be so overbearing, or Latakia base,
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
say, are so overbearing sometimes. And same thing with kind of the lot or Balkan blends where you just have everything. Sometimes I just want something with like kind of the sweetness of the Virginia and then like kind of a peppery aftertaste of the Perique. So it's kind of it will always be my go-to blend.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Vapors are definitely um, like refreshing in a way, I guess. Of all the different blends that we talk about, it seems the most maybe summery, I guess. Like it's just real fresh, refreshing, and not to say that they're, I don't think, lesser bodied, but there's still just a freshness to them.
I agree with that. I definitely look at a vapor as a spring or fall blend. I think of my Lakeland and aromatic tobaccos as sort of my summer blends.
Mm-hmm.
And then, an English blend will always be something that I mess around with in the wintertime. I always want to have a very firm English with a couple scotches in front of a fire. It's just, it's like they were all supposed to be made together. I guess it just has something to do with all that smokiness in just one sitting. The smoky of the Latakia, the smoky of the Scotch, and the smoke of the actual fire. So yeah, that is a perfect evening.
Hmm.
If it's cold, it's got to be cold enough though.
Yeah, and today would be that day, almost. It's one of those things I've been noticing as your intermediary months or your intermediary seasons, spring and fall, have they seem to be getting uh, shorter as far as the weather. Um, but there always seems to be a point where whether it's summer heading into fall or it's winter heading into spring, where things either start, you know, either heating up or cooling down, and then it will revert back, and it's almost worse than it was before, even if the degrees aren't as extreme, just because you got used to, the little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd be hitting with a constant cold in the winter, and then you have a good weekend where like it was last week. It was it hit the 60s.
It was definitely 65 on Saturday.
Yeah, so it hit the 60s, but now it's gone back, and now we're like in the 40s again, 30s and 40s, and it definitely isn't the coldest it's been all winter, but it feels worse just because we had that little taste of, warmness. And again, like I said, that works with when your summer going into fall too.
Right.
Like you'll hit a really cool weekend in like September, and then right before October it'll get hot again all of a sudden. Or maybe it's August going into September, but it gets hot one more time and it feels awful.
There's always a fake out in August where the temperature drops down to
yeah.
about 60. No one ever believes me either, but they're like, nah, it's fall, and I was like, it's August 20th, so it's absolutely not fall. It's about to fake you out and go straight back into summer. You just had a minor cool spell. That's it, and it does every time. And then everyone has to put up all their sweaters and UGG boots.
Mm-hmm. UGG boots. You got a pair?
I don't know if I got a pair. I might. You have to go investigate my closet. It might be my wife's.
You can say that all you want to.
So
maybe at the end of this episode we'll treat the people with your UGG story.
maybe. It's not a very good story, but it I did acquire a pair. I can tell it now. I acquired a pair of UGG boots while I was in Afghanistan, uh, which is, well, to say the least, is a very masculine environment, and UGG boots are not a very masculine attire. I had been going through various um, house slipper type shoes because they have a grit that they lay out to kind of keep the ground from becoming soggy or wet or mud, and they lay this grit out, and it will absolutely tear through shoes. So I was on my fourth pair, and they're about $20 a pop, and I was like, good grief, I've spent $80. Is there something more durable? I'd rather put in the cash now instead of like going through another pair of shoes. So hopped on the internet, the old Google machine, and then tried to decipher what would be the best pair of house slippers or, some sort of warm shoe, because the winters in Afghanistan are pretty extreme. I mean, we got like 4 foot of snow. My door froze completely solid, and it's just constant wind. I mean, you're up in the Hindu Kush. People kind of forget. They kind of see it as a deserty, more of a desert. It's more of a high desert, like just sort of arid and high and cold, and you get snow. But anyway, I digress. So I jumped on, and they said, the most durable, reliable house shoe you can own are UGG boots. So I said, I kind of deliberated about it for a little bit, and I threw uh, caution to the wind and ordered a pair. And the way it works is when you order something in another country in a war zone, it comes to an APO address, and it takes about 10 to 14 days to ship out to you and then get to wherever you're located at. And I was watching very, very carefully, because I knew that if our guy went to the store or went to the post office, he'd get it, he'd put it in, and I could acquire it and slip quickly into my room before anyone noticed. And the thing is like in between the office where they house the packages and my room, or a little bit past my room, or was my room, and then out a little ways was a gazebo. And the gazebo, everyone would kind of sit out there and smoke cigars or cigarettes or whatever and kind of unwind from the day. And a lot of people, they would be picking up their packages, and it kind of became this show and tell for adults where people would get their various items, some more interesting than others. I remember one of my favorites was a very complicated what is it called? It's not a duvet. It's a, what is it called when you on the toilet?
Oh, you hadn't said it.
What I said it, yeah.
A bidet.
A bidet. A bidet. I said a duvet. That's not a bed. No one ordered duvets, unfortunately, but someone had ordered a very complicated bidet from Japan that would you would fill it with soap, and it was electronic, so you would use the restroom. It had a seat warmer on it because it was all electric, and then it would come out, soap your bum, rinse it out with water that you had to kind of use a splitter hose on to get the water into that. Then it would blow dry your butt, and then it would retract back in and then sanitize the seat for the next person.
Oh.
It was really complex. It was really cool,
So it was
though.
like a commercial kind.
Yeah,
of
like really complicated. And then and then a couple of really inventive sex toys I saw there, which is always kind of alarming when you see that. You're like, well, I know where that's about to go, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. But anyway, the point is that it was a masculine, male-dominated show and tell. There weren't very many females in our compound, and we had the craziest things. But I knew that, sorry, to get back to my story, I knew I had to sneak that package in quickly into my room so no one would ask me, because they would make me bring out what I got and show it, because it's sort of a way of passing the time. Like, it's sort of your way of getting back to a normal life, is to sort of do the things, play cards, smoke, just share items in your life, because you're not at home. And, that's sort of like, kind of a way to normalize everything that you're dealing with. And we were working in minefields, so it was always relatively stressful. So anyway, I zip in, and I can't remember the reason. It was like day 13. I needed to get to my room first to drop off all my equipment, and then I could run back to the office and see if the package was there. So I get out of the car, I throw in my backpack. I got this other box in my hand because I was going to be working from my room that evening to get some stuff finished up. And before I could get onto the footpath heading towards my room, I heard this door kick open, and it was Mark. And he was this super cool Cockney English guy, and he had this really thick accent. And he was really loud. And I remember when the door flung open, I heard, "Oi, Zach! Your boots are here!" And everyone in that gazebo turned around and busted out laughing because Mark had this freaking Ugg box above his head, and it literally said Ugg across of it or whatever. And then, so I'm like, well, here's this walk of shame or whatever. I go to my room with all that laughter from the gazebo, have to walk back, pick up the box, and then do the walk of shame to the gazebo and show off my Ugg boots. But let me tell you, after I went through the shame of that, I wore them everywhere I went. I was like, well, it can't get much worse than this.
Yeah, might as well wear them now.
Yeah, so it's now I'm just stuck with it. And then they'd ask all these stupid questions like, how's it, they would ask what was the thing they would always ask? They go, how's the surfing this morning was a question I'd always get. Or, like just random stuff that they knew about these stupid Ugg boots that I guess have more of a surfer history to them. And I would just have to contend with this the whole time. And I worked with a lot of British folks. Sorry, this is droning on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I worked with a lot of British folks, and they're all super cool and laid back. And I really do miss hanging out with them and associating with them. But they would. I remember they always say, like that kind of dry British wit. And sometimes, it could be that way, but sometimes it could just be so silly and stupid that it would just get on your nerves, about how ridiculous it was. I remember one day I'd wake up on Sunday. Sunday was the only day I had off, and I'd wake up, you had to get up fairly early to get breakfast, or you'd miss and you had to wait till lunch. So I'd wake up and you didn't really want to get out. I'd go make a plate and bring it back to my room and scarf it down and then fall back asleep, and then I'd be up around lunch again. But I would make my way to the footpath, and you would have to go by the gazebo, and these two fellas, Mark, being one of them, and his comrade Clive, were sitting there, and I think they were having some tea or whatever. And remember, this is like 6 a.m., and I'm just barely awake, just rolled out of bed to go get food to go back to sleep. And I'm walking down the footpath, and as I'm going by the gazebo, and they're like, "Zach, good evening." And I looked at them and I go, yeah, good morning, like that. And then they just busted out laughing, just cackling. And then they were like, "It's funny because it's morning." And I was like, "Oh, I get it. It's just stupid as hell." And they would just torment me with these crazy jokes. just like the etiquette of the thing and subverting that was the hilarity of it. It's like, and I remember just being so, just like, yes, you're just subverting the time of day. And you would think that it was the funniest joke you'd ever heard. And now looking back on it, I laugh at it. But it was, at the time, it's like, it's 6 a.m. You're getting humor out of messing up the time of day. It's just such a crazy moment.
Sounds like you had a bunch of stories that can be told from that time period.
I've got quite a few. I miss some of those days are pretty fun. Some of them are pretty not fun. So, that's the thing. And you do that kind of work, or you're in that kind of environment, it sort of forms your personality, and it forms your perspective on a lot of things. And then the good thing about it is, like I tell people, is like, well, I definitely will be somewhat interesting in places just because I have a couple of stories I can pull out from my sleeve. But anyway, yeah, so So the weather.
Back to the weather and the Ugg boots. But yeah, hopefully this won't last too much longer. I mean, it's just February. I mean, I shouldn't be complaining too much.
Well, it's funny how like we get so superior to the weather, and it's like, well, you're in the throes of winter. Like maybe we should chill it out a little bit.
Yeah. It's just they had to tease us with that little bit of just.
I don't mind so much because I have a tendency to enjoy the cold. I'm a little bit bigger dude, so like I enjoy the cold. I enjoy the fashion of I like coats, big wool coats and things. So it's something I get to enjoy. Being kind of in the northern part of Alabama, you sort of have to contend with the weather going from, the 80s to the 20s, snow, no snow, completely frozen, desolation, to arid,
And all the wild things shutting down
mm-hmm.
for nothing.
For nothing. Well, it always does that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not a people that are prepared to deal with snow.
And I mean,
ice.
it doesn't make sense for our local governments and state government to buy all that equipment when it rarely happens. So, and
I like that. It's like it's actually more cost effective to shut down the economy.
yeah.
That is a backwards way of thinking, I think.
What's funny is the town that I live in. I'm not from this town, but it's where I currently live. They actually made news, or national news, because the police chief put on Facebook using the police department when all the snow hit us a couple weeks back. He posted something like, due to the inclement weather, all crime and doing stupid things is canceled for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it to like the, New York Daily News, and
right.
It was on Fox News, CNN, all those different sites and stuff. So, yeah, Alabama is usually the butt of the weather jokes. So sometimes it's better just to take it on, be the butt first.
So, I know we said that we were going to begin reading Name of the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you and I are both kind of into it a little bit.
Yeah, we're
Well, we don't have to necessarily talk about it today. We're just going to kind of give you an overview of what we plan on doing, if that's
yeah. So if as long as you all are into it, we'll probably go over the first 100 pages next week.
Mm-hmm.
And that should give everybody plenty of time. 10 pages a day.
10 pages a day, not too terrible. And then we're going to continue on this path of doing it bi-weekly. That way this doesn't necessarily become a book club. And we can just sort of ramble on about other things, but then we have an opportunity to kind of, come together as a community of readers as well as pipe smokers. I just don't see there being a separation between me smoking a pipe and reading a book.
No, definitely not. There's so many things, like pipe smoking can be the main event, but it's very much, I think it's very happy being, the secondary action. Reading a book while smoking a pipe, hiking, smoking a pipe, just taking a stroll, heck, playing video games.
I do enjoy the complementary nature of tobacco.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, if you guys like, get your pipes out during the week, get you a copy of Name of the Wind, and start reading it. And, if you have to, you can break it out a little bit. You don't have to listen to the the podcasts as they're being posted up, and you can catch up as you'd like.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that we'd like to do, is start discussing some things like that and sort of mulling through them at a pace that, you guys can read effectively and keep up with us, and maybe even, send us some suggestions or questions on what we can talk about for the book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But
and we'll probably interlace those off weeks with maybe some short stories.
Maybe do something like that.
Yeah, and we'll always, after we talk about, the subject of that week, we'll always sort of say, well, we're going to go to this point next week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, yeah, if that's something y'all are into, just feel free to tag along.
Yeah.
Um, I think this week we do have a pipe of the week. Let me see here. It is from. Well, here I'll let you take a read of it, Zach.
All right. So this pipe of the week is brought to you by Cascadian Piper. He has taken a picture here of, I guess, a 5-mile lunt, as he says. A lunt being the old English term come out in the 20s for smoking and walking, is it not? Didn't you tell me this?
I think it's like from the 1700s.
1700s. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I know you have to look up a little bit more, but I think Cascadian he's known for putting a lot about the lunting. But yeah, I think it comes from the word like to strike or to match, but it's used for smoking pipe while strolling.
So he's got a nice bent bones pipe, and a bones pipe, for you guys that don't know, is a very bare bones pipe. Uh,
While for our show to get on every platform, but I believe it is on most all of them now. It is on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and some others. Uh, so if you need any, like, if you don't, if you can't find it on whatever you use, just reach out to us and we'll.
I believe, interestingly enough, the app we use is Anchor, and
Mm-hmm.
it actually got purchased by Spotify
Oh,
last
did
week.
it?
Yep. I don't think it changes the application. I still think they kind of serve the same purpose, but they might actually bring up a couple more features and make it a little bit more robust because it's going to
Yeah.
go right into the Spotify platform.
Okay, that's cool.
So,
And because you could always, what was interesting about this app is you could add in music that you could get from Spotify,
mhm.
except that music won't transfer over when it gets published out to like Apple. So like you lose some stuff if you do it that way. Um, but and then also more relatively new thing is we will have the episodes up on YouTube, and yeah, we'll have them up on YouTube for you to watch, and maybe eventually we'll dive into you actually seeing our faces.
Yeah,
Um,
the wonderful world of videography.
yes.
But I tell you, man, I do have a face for radio, though. That
And
is the worst old timer joke
that
ever.
is, and I have the voice of a novel, the voice for a novel.
A voice for a novel.
Yeah, which really I don't make I guess it's not too bad now since there's audiobooks.
Yeah. Actually, that's the thing though. When you speak, I'm like, what would be better for you? The written word.
Well, it looks like, we record these on Friday nights. It looks like old Matches 860 is live right now.
Man, I love watching that guy.
He's good guy.
He's like one of those dudes you just want just to take a little time, smoke a pipe with him, and just listen to him. He's got, you talk about a voice. That guy's got it,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a New Englandy kind of northern accent that just sort of rolls through his sentences. I like it, man. He has some good reviews and some, just pipe a little, talk a little. I enjoy it. I've been following him for a long time. I guess I'm sort of a YouTube pipe community lurker, really, if you get down to it.
A lurker.
London Calling does some live feeds too on Saturdays, I think. And every once in a while I'll just sort of lurk. I don't really participate in any way. Maybe we can start doing it through our the Pipecast channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to find it on YouTube, it is. I think Pipecast was taken, so it is Pipe Down.
A Pipecast production.
Yeah, Pipe Down, a Pipecast production.
A little wordy, but I think everyone will get the point. Since this is Pipecast, so.
Yeah, and eventually, you might see some tobacco reviews.
And that's the thing is a couple of people that we know have mentioned that maybe we should start reviewing some of the tobacco we smoke, because we have a tendency just to kind of glaze through it. Some people want a little bit more detail that are kind of listening in, so we'll probably try to oblige and bring to the world of pipe smoking what it already has too much of.
Just another opinion about a tobacco blend.
But we'll keep those probably pretty short. It'll be something just sort of experimental. I think Patrick and I discussed the fact that we'll smoke one blend together and then just have a back and forth about that.
Mm-hmm.
It might become something that we just, like I said, just drop on a Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah, something in between the actual episodes to tide y'all over.
Because we like just talking.
Yeah, as you can tell, we like to talk a good bit. Probably when we shouldn't.
That's true.
But yeah, so yeah, be looking for those. Be looking for the reviews, and we'll be sure to link them. There'll always be some kind of Instagram thing. It's. I know I've said it before, but it just sort of baffles me that Instagram is how we've been able to get a footing, I guess.
A small footing.
Yeah.
Some people seem to be returning.
Yeah.
To some of our little episodes, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think it's just the pipe community is such a good community. It's a sharing community, and everybody enjoys sharing it amongst one another. But to slide away from the pipes for a little bit, I know we've talked about Lovecraft, we've talked about Tolkien a couple of times, but we're gonna dive a little bit into some I guess a different genre a little bit. You fellas and gals know that we're writers, or we try to be at least I do. As I used to joke with Zach, I'm a creative typer, not necessarily a writer. But what's interesting is we definitely have different viewpoints on. I think we've talked about it a little bit before, but we have different viewpoints on how stories go. Mm-hmm. We're similar in a lot of ways, but I'm more of a cinematic. Like I want my stories to feel like you're watching a movie more so than anything. Probably just because I should have went to school to be a director or a cinematographer or something. And then Zach, you're a little bit more character driven, which that's something I'm trying to work on because I think characters do carry the story more than anything. I mean, you can have the best story in the world, but if your characters aren't up to snuff, then it's sort of like a waste of time. Um, and I sort of say all that to to say this. Zach's wife, she loves the Gilmore Girls,
Hmm.
and me and my girlfriend started watching them. And my girlfriend doesn't like TV shows. She thinks not too much. She don't like how they just drag on and on. But she got hooked into the Gilmore Girls, and I was just along for the ride. Um, but what I found interesting is,
Gilmore Girls seem like an instant catnip for your girlfriend or significant other. Like it really does.
yeah, yeah. But what I think I really enjoy. So most of the time, I like shows that cut to the chase. I don't really care for filler. So like on the channel that Gilmore Girls came on, the CW. You have shows like The Flash, Arrow, all those DC TV shows, Supernatural, things like that. And and it feels like it all started with Smallville. Smallville was like unless there was one before that I'm not aware of. Maybe Buffy. I don't know which one came before the other. But it was very much. It's 22 episodes a season, 20 to 22 episodes a season. There's a lot of filler. It's a, and then those middle episodes start getting in a little lull, and they just repeat themselves over and over again. Monster of the week, things like that. Um, so like when you watch something, let's just say Arrow, but then you go to the Netflix show Daredevil, and it's 13 episodes, and it's more condensed, less fluff, less filler. It's very refreshing. But I will have to say this: we watched all 7 seasons of the original Gilmore Girls, and then watched Netflix's miniseries, A Year in the Life. Um, and when you go from doing 22 episodes a season to doing just 4, hour, hour and a half, hour 45-minute episodes, of course there's going to be a little bit more cut to the chase, which naturally, like I've said, I enjoy that. I think that's better. But I'll have to say, I think I was a little, I guess, not disappointed. I think it was a really well done show by Netflix. It was very good, but the characters of that show, not just the main characters, the recurring and the guests and all the townsfolk, they brought a lot to the show for me. They made me feel like that's a cool place to be, and they just were not there as much in the new. Which again, like I said, it makes sense because they were trying to cut to the chase more because you had less time to do it. But it just seems like Gilmore Girls knew how to fill that filler better because it dove into characters. It made you like the characters, so it didn't feel so much as filler. Um, like I said, so that was just more about me just saying how, I continually change my mind on certain things, so to speak. I know, like I said, Zach's wife likes the Gilmore Girls, and you, I guess, didn't care too much for it, but you more like the Netflix version.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of Gilmore Girls at all. I feel like, like if you know anything about me, I usually cut to the chase about things, uh, and I find that the characters are vapid, flat,
Mm-hmm.
and they seem to find themselves in the worst situation, and then compound their situation by making even dumber decisions, and they never pay for them in any sort of real consequence.
Yeah,
Um, and I just can't stand them. Also, I hate the dialogue because they speak really rapidly.
yeah,
So it seems like middle schoolers putting on a play as opposed to, actual conversation where there's pauses and, someone can have a lilt or like there's ups and downs or, it's this really contrived, just blah, 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 blah. And then their response is blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, you're not even breathing at this point.
yeah, yeah,
So I really not a fan of that because I just feel like it just came off as really fake. Um, and like I said, it never seemed like there was a consequence to any of their actions, which I don't like. And I can't speak for every episode because I never watched it. It's sort of just walk away when it came on, but the new season of Gilmore Girls, the Netflix version, my wife wanted to watch it. There wasn't a lot of room to escape. I have not a very large house. So I just said, oh, you know what? It's 4 episodes. I'll watch them.
Yeah.
And yeah, loved it. And it's because every action had a reaction, and like all their silly and maybe dumb decisions, had a consequence. So you're actually seeing characters who never suffered anything actually go through all this turmoil and suffering for
Yeah.
once. And it was kind of cathartic watching things that I didn't like kind of get their comeuppance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the way I feel about that. I mean, I guess maybe like it was a good dose of like Schadenfreude or whatever Schadenfreude. That's that word. It's pleasure from the suffering of others. So that's pretty much how I feel about it. That's one thing the Germans gave me is that word Schadenfreude or Schadenfreude. Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the suffering of characters who deserve it, I guess. And they technically are fictional, so it's like, yeah, who cares? But
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it's like, finally, give them a little comeuppance for your silly actions. It's just like, it's just one of those things. I just don't identify really well with CW characters, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just poor production and just silly actions. So,
Yeah. That's why that was the first thing I noticed when I turned on the new one. It was, again, since I come at it from more of a cinematic idea. I mean, you could tell it was better production. I mean, it looked good. I mean, it still felt same world, everything, but so much better.
I don't think they're like, I don't think it's bad if you watch it, or I'm not bad mouthing. It's just not my cup of tea. So, but I'm gonna be honest about my opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
They have a new show. I think the lady who created Gilmore Girls came out with a new show called Marvelous Miss Maisie, which is about a female comic in the '60s during the sort of Lenny Bruce kind of era of comics, and it's absolutely terrible too. It's just like, it's really pretty though. It's a really pretty show. Everything looks very '60s, and it's very interesting, but it is just terrible dialogue, terrible situations that seems like never pays off because there's always some sort of deus ex machina that gets them out of it, and I can't handle it. So
It's
it's just my opinion.
it's an Amazon original, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon knows how to fund their shows though.
Yeah, they what's funny is I love Hercule Poirot stories and movies, and I watched a lot of them growing up with my parents, and we really love the ones from PBS. I watched them on PBS. I guess
They were like BBC.
Yeah,
Like Sendovers, right?
I think so. And it had David Suchet in it, and that's Perot for me. Shorter fella, little tubby, with that little mustache. That is Perot for me, and then of course there was Murder on the Orient, which wasn't the best movie, but I did enjoy. Well, I mean, I love Kenneth Branagh, so I did enjoy Kenneth Branagh. Hopefully, he will make more Perot movies because I really found that nice. And he was vindicated because my mother liked it, so that's all you need to know. But what's funny is Amazon has just come out with a series called The ABC Murders, which is my favorite Hercule Poirot story. But the funny thing is, my mother cannot stand John Malkovich, and John Malkovich is playing Poirot. And I sent her the trailer of that. And I'm like, well, look at this. I think she's still going to give it a go, of course. But it is interesting to see what she thinks of it. And what's funny is, you can still tell it's Malkovich, like the way he talks. It's still the way he talks, but he's putting an accent on it. It's pretty funny. I haven't watched an episode yet, but I am very intrigued by that. If ABC Murders, I don't know. Maybe it's not that original. Maybe it was original at the time, but it's just very interesting. It's, from what I remember, it's just a killer who is killing people. He's going down the alphabet in the phone book. He killed somebody that first and last name was A, and then he killed somebody that's BB, and then CC, and then he's working his way down. So you got to solve it before he, once they figure out the pattern, they sort of solve it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the one thing I liked about those BBC production Perot's, they're mysteries, but you really can't solve them the way that they're filmed or the way that they're told. It's they purposely leave out things, so it's not like a mystery where we're like, well, I think this person did it. Which, I mean, you definitely can do, and you can get it right, but it's more than likely just a lucky guess.
Right.
Because there's usually like some kind of clue that the camera did not reveal, but that the character did stumble upon. Which I like.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way people analyze things now, I mean, maybe they were like this too back when they produced those original Perot films, but, you know, sometimes I like a little mystery, a little revelation at the end that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I do too. I really would like to write a mystery story. I think mysteries are I guess probably my favorite type of story.
Good. They always seem to be sometimes like some of the best mysteries. I don't remember who said this or was writing it, but they discussed like that great novels are things that sort of you take an idea and you cover another idea with it. So like Harry Potter, for instance, we'll just discuss the first one, Harry Potter and I think Philosopher's Stone.
In Britain, it was the Philosopher's Stone. It was the Sorcerer's Stone.
Sorcerer's Stone. Okay, so in that one, what it is it's a mystery wrapped in a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So the veneer of the story is a fantasy. It's witches. It's the spectacle of the school and all this other stuff. Kind of has a chosen one kind of aspect to it. But ultimately, it's a mystery. They're running down a mystery through the whole thing. And I think that's pretty fascinating that you can actually morph genres into something else. And in reality, like, you could strip away the fantasy veneer and, you know, it would still just be a mystery. Just a plain and simple mystery.
And if I'm thinking of it, I might not be thinking all of it. But the second one is still that, too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it definitely, the stories do evolve. The later on it gets in the series, but definitely the first two are very much mysteries. And I think Marvel movie, they do a good job of being able to do that a little bit. Ant-Man's, it's a heist movie disguised as a superhero movie. Or a heist comedy kind of disguised as a superhero movie. My favorite of all those, The Winter Soldier, is like a political thriller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get down to it, and I think they usually find a good way to do that. It'll be interesting if they can keep it going, but
well, it's good that they don't, because I mean, like, that's the problem that a lot of other studios have. They solely focus on the hero aspect, and that's not necessarily what's driving people to the theater. I think maybe with the Avengers, it could possibly be the spectacle of the thing. It's just such a big production that everyone's there. You know, it's sort of the all-star game of film.
Yeah.
But you know, the other studios, like Venom, it's not really anything. It's just Venom, and they're banking. Sony, I guess in this case, was banking on it making money because it's Venom.
Mm-hmm.
But it did. It just was a terrible movie.
I have yet to waste my time watching it.
It's not really good. It's actually surprisingly bad, because what it reminded me of actually was like sort of the early, like, it reminded me of the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like, what am I watching?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Marvel, I think, learned its lesson early through the other studios, through Fox, through Sony. They in Universal, they learned their lesson, so that when they came out with Iron Man, they were just like, well, we know that we got to sell it on something more. Now, granted, Iron Man, I don't know what else, what you could say it is. It's just a clean origin story with a charismatic protagonist. But
Once again, Iron Man is it's one of that old kind of debate that you and I have. It's relatively tight story, but it's character driven. The whole thing is, and an origin story sort of has to be character driven because you have to get behind that character because you're going to be dealing with him and his rise or her rise through the entire story.
mhm. And see, a lot of people didn't like it, or I thought people liked this movie, the one I'm about to say, but apparently the other day they said that people didn't like it as much. But the original or the Doctor Strange by the Scott Derrickson one, it was very much an Iron Man. It took a lot from Iron Man in a way, the way it became an origin story. But I don't know, I enjoyed it just as much, if not more, than Iron Man.
I think people are just a little tired of having to go through the whole rigmarole of the origin story.
Which Marvel said they weren't going to do any more origin stories, but then they did Doctor Strange. Or maybe right around the time Doctor Strange came out, they said, well, we're not going to do any more. And you saw that because they introduced two new characters in a movie that weren't even their own movie. They introduced Spider-Man and Black Panther and Captain America Civil War before they had their own movies.
You can almost have like kind of a sidebar story where it sort of at least illustrates. Well, I mean, Spider-Man literally had no origin, so good for them. They're changing the time. They're changing, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, everybody knows. Everybody knows who Spider-Man is, how he became who he was, and so
Right.
it was a smart move on their part. And to make him a kid, or a teenager, smart moves.
I tell you, man, like, oh, there's nothing quite like just smoking tobacco. The that's the thing. A huge problem with my addiction to it is that it sort of never lets me down. I mean, I'm sure, like, if I die from cancer, that will be the time that tobacco lets me down. But ultimately, like, it's there when you're down, it's there when you're up, warm weather, cold weather, break up, or happily ever after. It's been with me when I was alone, and it's been with me in some of my greatest conversations. I mean, like, I can map some of the best conversations I've ever had, and there's always a cigarette or something in my mouth.
Mm.
And there's just something to it. I don't know what it is. There's an ease to it. There was an ease to doing that on a 15-minute break after work, or walking out at 4 o'clock on a Friday from your job and lighting a cigarette. And a cigarette sort of symbolizing the weekend, or getting out of that last exam. I mean, those kinds of things seem to freeze frame themselves and project those ideas on tobacco. And I think that's where I'm sort of hamstringed a little bit, because I can't break the identity I've given to tobacco to the ease that I feel when I'm smoking.
I can't relate. I can understand. I can't relate yet. I mean,
If you didn't grow up around, or if your formative years weren't surrounded by puffing something,
yeah,
cigars, cigarettes, a pipe, or hookah, whatever, like, it's difficult to relate. People who are late bloomers, they're kind of like, oh, it was this or that, or my grandfather, or Tolkien, or whatever. But I think people who come over from the cigarette side probably have a deeper passion for it,
oh yeah,
because it's so ingrained in them that, like, to be relaxing.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I did not come. I mean, some of my family members did smoke, but the main household I was in, I don't know, we're me and my dad are sort of similar a little bit, but my dad's a pretty cheaper guy. He used to say something about. He said the same analogy or same statement about cigarettes and fireworks. He said you might as well just roll up a $5 bill and smoke it.
My dad said the same thing. He goes, "Well, I buy fireworks. I just go out and burn $100 bill."
Yeah,
And I was like, $100 bill doesn't blast off into colorful blooms in the sky.
Yeah.
I was like, if you want to burn $100 bill, why don't you go down the street and buy me some fireworks?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Like, don't give me that crap analogy. Like, the $100 bill is not doing anything for me.
and I know you know this, but I guess it's just that watching a spectacle of fireworks doesn't do anything for you really. Now it does emotionally, and that might be where the difference between the people that are our parents' age, the people that are our age. It goes cyclical. Things like that. Sometimes people care more about the physical, and the concrete things. Some people have more pull on the abstract things. And, just watching a bunch of fireworks.
It absolutely doesn't mean that at all. What it means is that one day I'm going to have a 5-year-old kid and I'm going to have bills and he's going to be like, let's go shoot fireworks. And I'm like, I might as well burn $100 bill. And what I'm not telling him is like, I got to buy chicken breasts this week. You can't tell that to a kid. You got to make it seem stupid. You got to sell them on another idea. Because there's no way I'm going to go down to the corner store and buy a bunch of fireworks for $100 or whatever and then be like, yeah, you're going hungry this week. Oh, no, we blew up all your food.
But no, yeah. So I definitely didn't come from too much of a cigarette. So or a smoking family. I mean, my dad didn't even smoke cigars or anything like that. Now, my grandfather, he made some pipes, and
wow, is there any way you can get a hold of those?
I have to find them. I don't know where they're at.
Now that would be something to find. Now you need to go find them pipes and come in here and show and tell.
Yeah, I'll have to hit one of the uncles up. But yeah, it wasn't that big of a thing, and so
you guys hit him up with a hashtag Patrick's Pappy's Pipes.
Patrick's Pappy's Pipes. The PPP, not Peterson's Perfect Plug. But no, yeah. So I'm definitely coming at it. Which, I mean, I'm not saying one way is better than the other. Believe me, I'm not. But I'm very happy that I am coming at it from the direction I am. Because I'm not really a big cigarette smoker. I mean, I smoked some, like in college, here and there. I never was like I was never, like, I would say, addicted. I was never just a regular smoker. I probably went through 2 packs of cigarettes through 4 years of college. Maybe smoked 3 cigars.
Went to two packs of cigarettes during 2 days of college.
But no, I mean, but so I'm really coming at this fully at just a love of the tobacco. Like the first segment,
Love of tobacco is pretty strong.
well, I guess it's the love of the taste is what I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, it's the whole thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get past the fact that you were doing, more than just, like I said, it's a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
There are tea rituals in Japan that are not as complex as smoking a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
You have the perfect pipe, the perfect blend, the perfect hour, the perfect drink, the perfect literature, the perfect conversation. In a way, I mean, it's all preparation. But, I think that there is sort of a zen in the art of pipe smoking.
Oh yeah, for me it is so much ritual. It's so much. It's getting the right pipe, picking the right blend. I think I've said it before, but sometimes the pipe dictates the blend. Sometimes the blend dictates the pipe, whatever you're in the mood for.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like I said, I'm a big researcher, and pipe smoking, tobacco was such a good thing to get into because there's so much.
Yeah. Well, it definitely lends itself to research.
Yeah. So many. Oh man. So many pipe shapes,
Blends,
blends.
where you can grow the pipe tobacco, or the leaf, the tobacco leaf. toppings, casings, traditions, different, essences.
Going back to blends, confusing names.
Mm-hmm.
Learning the ins and outs of the difference between a Balkan and an English.
Well, try as I might, I think I've actually gotten to the end of this, even though it doesn't want to smoke any more than just ash.
I actually was able to pull a lot out of old Stumpy boy.
Oh, Stumpy.
I think it's just because...
I think it's just because Boswell makes a mean pipe.
Yeah, definitely. But I also got to give credit to Peretti.
Oh yeah.
Because it was a real thick flake, and I rubbed it out and loaded in, but maybe it needed a little bit more drying time, but maybe that's why it's going this long. I don't know.
It's a perfect crossroad between Pennsylvania and Massachusetts.
Road that. That was so not cross between Pennsylvania and Massachusetts. But yeah, so hope you enjoyed this. Again, check us out on any way you get your podcast. Check YouTube if you want to, if that's your forte. And look for some reviews in the future. And read some Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss whenever you get a chance if you want to tag along with us.
Yeah.
So
until next time, we'll see you at the top of the bowl.
This has been a Pipecast production.
And we hope to see you at the next full bowl.